Hello everyone. October the 15th. A follow-up on the eclipse to show the weight this event had. Really, this is one of the most important in many years, I would say, since the 2017 Great American Eclipse. This is number 2, as I said, and we have number 3 in April coming up. Listen to my previous recordings to get the details on that. Now I want to build on what I said yesterday in my earlier recording. Now let's look at that for a moment. 18 degrees and 20 minutes, that, as I said, is the degree in the Sabian symbols which speaks of a new continent rising. Now if we go to the last time Earth was farthest away from Earth, which was on July the 6th, 2023, which I have demonstrated a number of times, that moment holds tremendous predictive potential, as does the moment when Earth is closest to the Sun. Earth moves on an elliptical path. In January, early January, Earth is closest, and beginning of July, around July 4-6, it is farthest away from the Sun. So these 2 points are purely defined by 2 celestial bodies, the Sun and Earth. There's no third party. All other astrological alignments basically are a triangulation. There's always 3 involved. You stand on Earth, yes, and you see the Moon and the Sun converging, or you stand on Earth and you observe that the Sun and whatever Mars is on the other side. Whereas in the aphelion, perihelion, the closest distance to the Sun and the farthest, this is really the relationship between Earth and the Sun. So that shows you the importance of that moment. So on July 6th, when this last was the case, look at what axis we have: 1851 Scorpio, 1851 Taurus, that same 19th degree of a new continent rising. And here we had Uranus actually within less than a degree here in the 4th house. This showed these next 6 months following July would be a real earthquake, will really shake everything through to the foundations. And we have here Astrea, who's surprised about that, and Vesta, those 2 asteroids which I repeatedly have pointed toward as being crucially important, as these show the roles we humans are meant to take in this transformation, and the voice we are meant to insert. We are literally the manifestations of the divine energy on this physical level, and we are meant to engage and let that divine presence work through us. We become the vessels of love, of universal love, and that's exactly what will be the healing factor here, as we pointed out many times. Interesting that Venus here in the 11th house, I mean, there's many interesting things about this chart. I talked about this earlier. I really wanted to bring it back. Also the 14th degree of Capricorn and Cancer, you probably remember, this is the main axis in the American chart, in the New Worlds chart, as I call it, that 1776 July 4th start chart, has the Sun in the 14th degree of Cancer, Earth in the 14th degree of Capricorn. So again, hinting that yes, the Americas will be where this next big evolutionary step will be mostly visible, emerging from, rippling out of. So yes, here you see this opposition. Now I want to go back one more step to what I just said before, Mercury and Mars. Yes, actually I didn't say that yet, sorry. Okay, what I want to say is, before the eclipse on the 14th of October, hours prior, the Moon not just moved in front of the Sun as seen from Earth, but also in front of Mercury. There was a Mercury occultation at 8:51 a.m. Universal Time, and then at 5:59 p.m. something like 10 hours later, the Moon occults the Sun, and then another what would that be, 9 hours later, the Moon occults Mars at 3:26 p.m. Universal Time. Actually, it's a little more. That would be something like 20 hours later. But you see, within a very close range, Mercury and Mars had occultations with the Moon as well. So occultations are a very particular thing. On one hand, the Moon is blocking out that planet's energy to directly reach to us. In that sense, there's a kind of hiding thing going on one level, occulting it, making it disappear almost. On the other side, the Moon is soaking up this energy. Actually, all that planet's energy during that time when the Moon is hiding that planet's energy will have to filter through the Moon's aura, through the Moon's body to reach Earth. So there's a kind of a deep amalgamation of those two energies happening. The same which happens during a solar eclipse. One of the ways to understand the power of a solar eclipse is the Moon is absorbing the solar energy, bringing it very physically down to the 3D plane. The Moon is ruling, because the Moon really rules the most basic biological rhythms on this planet, as you certainly know from the tidal changes. So the Moon has an effect on the waters in our body too. So anything related to the Moon is touching us very directly and deeply through nature itself. Now, Mercury and Mars, I guess it's not that far fetched to see that Mars and Mercury, when they come together, this is a debate. This is, yes, now I have to say something. Now I have to express my male energy, Mars, in a mercurial way. Or vice versa, I have to apply my mercurial skills in a Martian way. So, which also means being very outspoken, uncensored. And now if we roll back here a little bit more, when Earth was at its perihelion, at its closest in 1 year, back in January 23, you see what we have here? A conjunction of Mercury and Mars. So they were laying already the foundations there, and actually here in this powerful immersion with Aspolus, Chaos, and Bienor. Aspolus, the one which is really interested in secrets and diving down to the root cause of a crime, that Sherlock Holmes energy. Chaos actually just entered heliocentrically, and we are looking at the heliocentric picture here, because the heliocentric is the energetic backdrop. It is the pre-manifest. It is where everything is emerging from. So Chaos just entered heliocentric Cancer, which is a big thing. Chaos is one of these KBO's Kuiper belt objects in full, which are roughly 4 billion miles from Earth, much farther out than Pluto. Chaos takes about 308 years. Actually, yes, Pluto is just a little bit more inside, so not that big of a difference. 308 versus 247. Anyway, Chaos heliocentrically entering a new sign. That happens only once every roughly 30 years. So this was a big energetic shift, which I spoke about, one of the trademarks of the year 2023, with that energy chaos, which represents primordial order. You won't believe that if you don't know history. Anyway, that is the Greek meaning of that word primordial order, the very basic structure of the quantum vacuum, which is basically sacred geometry. That means when anything, physics try to teach us the law of entropy, that everything goes into disintegration, and yes, that is true on one level, as when you only focus on the physical 3D level, but in a much more holistic way, everything is being reabsorbed into the quantum vacuum field, and in that sense reuniting with that primordial harmony, that sacred geometry, which you can see all over in nature. Just go out any time in of the year into a forest, for example, regardless, it's always perfect. Whereas when the humans come in, then they leave footsteps and things start to get into disorder. Anyways, this primordial order energy, which is here at the guiding bar of where this goes, and piano, naturally, that is that free spirit, that freedom loving voice of reaching out for governance and sovereignty. Very powerful chart that was. Anyway, I just wanted to really reflect back to this Mercury-Mars conjunction, which then has been really emphasized with this Mercury occultation and Mars occultation within a few hours only. Now, so we saw here, let's just go back to this once more. That was when Earth was farthest away, in July the 6th, which is the latest of these two important alignments, with Australia and Vesta here united with Uranus. Australia, again, the star maiden who brings balance back into this reality. Also the one who remained the longest among the people after things had gone sour. Very important. It is that civil courage to take on a difficult job and to help in the cleanup and in the rehabilitation. Yes, Australia definitely at some point was not able to stay anymore, as things really deteriorated to a place where it was beyond repair. I guess that's when she decided to become the star maiden, when she was reborn as the constellation Virgo, as the story goes. Kind of a key component of the whole asteroid family. It's the fifth fragment, which has been discovered in 1845. That was, and it so happens that it's purely metallic from what we can tell by the observations. So most likely it's part of the core of that planet, probably the largest remaining fragment of that core of planet Maldek or Tiamat, which, as the different people who speak about it, who get information about it, tell us it's a big cosmic war which was causing that about 500,000 years. That is questionable, but definitely long ago. And this memory still sticks in these fragments, and they are here to redeem themselves, and they give us the roles to play, not to repeat the calamities which we have been going through many times in Earth's very long history. The channelings, or I should say the transmissions Ashiana Dean in the Voyagers has been giving us, is that for 500 million years this planet Earth already was inhabited by various intelligent life forms. There's an enormous backlog of history which we have no clue about, which is just slowly starting to come into the surface. With Sedna, I'm linking that into Sedna, bringing all those secrets into the open in Gemini, and that heliocentrically Sedna actually will enter Gemini on November the 25th. That's another day to mark in your calendar already. That will be a big shift in multiple ways, as I will show you when the time comes closer. For now, this is just a date to see as a next big nodal point. Up to that point, things are starting to heat up to get more and more critical. After that, we will see some real big motions and breakthroughs to start happening. One thing I am always looking at is when the bigger planets particularly change hexagrams. When they cut through these lines, I mean, if you overlay the 64 hexagrams over the zodiac as the human design has been teaching us, a fabulous system, just by the way, if you're not yet familiar with it, look it up. I will probably post another link below to a site where you can learn something about it. Anyway, this is another story. Eventually I will offer classes and get you more direct access to that wisdom. For now, I'm really focusing on what's most important, which is the collective picture of evolution, where we are front seat holders, the ones who are really understanding what's going on, and that is super important, because this is the 100th monkey effect. Those who know, without them knowing, they are helping the collective to understand what is going on. It is that trust in the universal rhythms, that nothing happens without a reason, that everything is part of a way bigger picture. Anyway, so this was just lately, October the 12th, 2 days before the eclipse, when Jupiter crossed the 13°15 mark backward into territory of hexagram 24, which is return, which is the sign of spring. We were in the last few months, we were here in hexagram 2, which is the receptive. So there was this very receptive absorption of whatever was going on, kind of allowing to come to a quiet, to just see, feel, sense the abundance within this universe, but in a very receptive mode. With Jupiter now back in hexagram 24, it's getting more complex on that front. Jupiter is working, which is all about expansion and expanding our minds, expanding our experiences, giving us adventures and bringing new dimensions. It is, I mean, in the Vedic tradition, Jupiter is the guru, who opens new worlds, who brings in the sacred teachings of higher dimensions. So Jupiter is super important in a time like that. So Jupiter changing into this hexagram 24, and again you have here Vesta and Astrea. It's just uncanny how these two are keeping to show pole positions, as I showed you. Go back to my eclipse recording. That is another little jewel there. I'll let you find it out yourself. Also about those two. Those two will have their heliocentric meeting on October 29th. So this is the next really big station. Yes, and then November 25 after that. So what does this chart tell us? Okay, here you see the black moon and Venus at the root of this chart. It is about what we see right now happening on this planet, a true recognition of the shadow through our hearts, through our empathy, that we see things are deeply troubling. I mean, that whole Israeli-Palestine thing is opening a whole new dimension to this, and it is quite amazing how the Palestinian people are being acknowledged as victims in this play. That, just want to say that much, that whatever organization which starts with an H is not representing the Palestinian people. That they are they have not given any governance authority. They have not been put in power. They are self-proclaimed, and just in that sense, when then the other nation is repercussing on the Palestinian people, this is outrightly wrong, and this is widely recognized. I think this will be another big shot in their own feet, as we say, their own legs. No, they cannot pull the Third World War out of their hats anymore. It's not happening, period. It's just not happening. People are not taking it anymore. And this is what we see all over the board in all these charts I'm showing you. So anyway, there was another chart I wanted to quickly travel to, which is this one. That is when Jupiter will turn direct. Again, shows you how Jupiter is critically important in this whole unfolding of events, because this is where the nodes will be at 2111 Libra, the south node. That's where we just had the eclipse. You remember 2107, 2109, that's where the moon was, you see. So this Jupiter, by the end of the year, is literally picking up the energies from this eclipse and pushing it yet to a whole different level, much higher. There's again many synchronicities hidden here. Just want to remind you also of the charts I started working with, of the retro loop chart. That was when Jupiter first time crossed that degree. It will eventually turn direct on on the end of the year, December 31st. I can't even say it anymore. Anyway, but Jupiter here will be at the descendant. That's another sign that yes, Jupiter is coming in with a very loud voice once it starts to move forward again. Till then, yes, it's a preparation phase. Very interesting, I found in this Jupiter loop. Again, this shows how Jupiter's energy will manifest itself through a whole year's period. First going kind of kicking off that degree where it eventually will come to a halt by the end of the year. So kind of it's that time traveling theme. You also could compare it to pulling the string back on a bow. It's the moment when you start pulling the string back, and then when the planet comes back to that moment, that's when you shoot the arrow off, which will be December the 31st. I mean, this chart in multiple ways is very special, with the moon with Mercury at 0 degrees, Gemini in its own sign. This in itself here, this narrow conjunction with Sedna, showed that we are coming out of a dark cave and start seeing the light. There is still all that memory, that residue from all that baggage Sedna is still holding unreleased in her memory banks. it's just about starting to get pulled out into the light. That's what this chart makes me feel like. Now, what furthermore is interesting, this 6 degrees Virgo and Pisces axis, not just with Saturn being here, showing that yes, this is a difficult period of adjustment for on the social plane and the collective social plane, on how we interact with each other. The saving grace here is the moon, certainly at 2820, having crossed that important line of 2815, which is where the new hexagram starts, hexagram 25, which is innocence, which is that spring-like energy of let's get into a whole new adventure. Let's just start afresh, anew, with a whole new mindset. Whereas before 2815, we have the darkening of the light, which pulls us deep down into the darkness below the earth, to really feel what darkness feels about, what naturally Neptune is still mainly in till I guess April or so in 2024, when first time it will cross this line. So it will still go forth and backwards a few times, but it is just, I mean, every planet has its own story. It's like different characters in a soap opera, and that's, I guess, why we have to see it. Anyway, what I want to say is heliocentric Saturn Gong conjunction at 5 degrees and 8 minutes in Pisces. That was exact on October 7, and look at the degrees, 6th degree of Pisces and Mercury at 6:30 in Virgo. That's how I often show you how different charts interact, build on top of each other to create that critical momentum finally, which will bring the breakthrough. So what does Gong Gong mean? Gong Gong is the earth monster or the sea dragon, which when he was so mad that he lost the competition with the fire god over the rule of earth, as the story goes, he rammed his head into earth in red hot anger and caused a whole bunch of destruction to occur. The whole earth's axis tilted, the river started flowing backwards. So this is pretty intense and kind of makes us think of earth changes. So Saturn and Gong Gong had their conjunction heliocentrically on October the 7th. Whatever that may bring, I think there's definitely some really big shock still coming from Earth, having to come from Earth at some point in the next few months. We keep that open for now. I think it will be January will be the very, very most critical months in many ways. We are building up towards that, and we are becoming more empowered in order to understand that what will happen has to happen. That's the bottom line. There's nothing that can be really changed anymore at this late stage in the game. I would like to say, yes, we are getting really, really close now to the big breakthrough. It will come in stages again, but January is definitely a critical high point. Anyway, I found this super interesting that this heliocentric Saturn Gong Gong conjunction has heliocentric Mercury here at 6 degrees 30 minutes in Virgo. Whatever you can make out of this. Anyway, I guess that's all I wanted to share here. I'll show you really the bigger picture of how things go. that 25-degree Leo moon is interesting too in multiple ways. That 26th degree of Leo always comes back in multiple charts. Anyway, thank you for tuning in again and listening, and yes, let's start getting really excited. It's worth it. It's a one in a lifetime bottleneck we are pushed through by existence. Everything is possible right now. Nothing is impossible. Take your power back. Say no. Be very outspoken, very direct. Nothing to fear anymore at this late stage. Yes, the control mechanisms are still in place, but the people behind these levers are no more cooperating. Many have already bailed out. It's probably not so visible, but you can feel it if you tune into it. The whole system is falling apart from inside out. This is one of the aspects of that huge shift in consciousness that is way on its way, well underway, as we would say. So again, thanks for joining and listening, and if you like, please subscribe, and yeah, you know what to do. Thank you. Talk to you soon again.